Today I'm going to show you how to use the Cricut Infusible Ink on a blanket. If you'd like to learn more, please keep watching. So today I'm going to show you how to download and extract this cute Mandala sunflower SVG I purchased from Art Boutique Butterfly on Etsy. I'll put a link in the description box below if you want to purchase this for yourself. From your purchases page, you can find the receipt for your purchased files and click download. Now I already had the file downloaded on my computer, so I wanted to show you how to extract the files once they're downloaded if you haven't done this already. I have a PC computer, so the process for another computer might be slightly different. From your download folder, you can see that the Mandala sunflower is in a zipped file. In order to extract these files, you'll click on the folder up at the top where it says Extract All, click that button and it'll bring up your file destination window. You can choose where you want your file to go and then click OK, and your folder where you choose to send the file will open. Now there are two different options for uploading an image to Design Space. Once you click the Upload button in Design Space, you can select Upload File and click Browse, or you can drag and drop. The drag and drop is the method that I personally prefer. Once I double check and make sure that I'm selecting the SVG file, I click and drag the file over and drop into Design Space. This is the screen where you can name the file and add tags, so it's easier for you to look up for later projects. I just typed in Sunflower and Mandala, click Save, and the file is now uploaded. Now you can click on your image and insert the image into your workspace. Since this file comes as two separate colors, I have to do a little editing since the blanket that I'm using the infusible ink on is already yellow. I select the image and ungrouped them. Then I click the yellow section, change the color to black in the upper left-hand corner, highlight the two sections, and group them back together again. Once I made the file the size that I wanted, I went over to the Make It button, and you can see how the two sections didn't group together the way that I wanted them to, even though they were the same color. So I click Cancel, highlight the two sections, and I attach them. Now they'll cut as one image. You can see here that once I went to make it again, the file was a little challenging to see on the mat to preview. So I went back and I changed the color to yellow just to preview the mat. After this, I changed it back to black, and then I continued with my cut. Now you can choose to leave the file another color if you'd like, as long as your sheet that you're cutting on is the color you want the image to be. So in this section, I'm just in the matte preview. I'm making sure that my image is correct, the sheet size is correct, and then since I'm using infusible ink, typically you would click the mirror button, but since my image is the same all the way around, I don't need to use the mirror button, but make sure if you are using infusible ink, it does need to be mirrored or your project will be backwards. Once my computer is connected to my Cricut, I turn the dial to Custom and I choose the Infusible Ink setting in the Design Space window. You can adjust the pressure if you need to, but the pressure shouldn't need changed if your blade's clean and sharp. So I load the mat into the machine and I click the C button to start the cut. I'm going to speed the footage up for you though, because this cut took about 20 minutes for my machine to cut. the image was done being cut, I unloaded the mat and I moved my machine out of the way. I flipped my cutting mat and the image over so I can peel my mat away from the Infusible Ink sheet. I didn't do it the other way because I didn't want to lose any small pieces off of the Infusible Ink sheet. The Infusible Ink is a little forgiving when it comes to small pieces coming off. I'll show you later in the video where that happened while I was weeding, but for right now, I just peeled the mat off to make sure I kept all of the small pieces in place. Now, whenever you're cutting your image and cutting the excess off, make sure you don't scratch any of the ink off of the actual image that you're using for your final project. If you have any ink that scrapes off, that line will show up on your final project. The Infusible Ink, it's actually pretty simple to weed as long as you have patience. What I'm doing here is I flipped the image over and I am rolling the sheet on the table and in between my fingers. You'll hear like little pops and cracks. That's a good sign. That's where you'll start weeding from. So it's also very important at this point to not scratch any of the ink off of your actual image. So I'm just peeling away the excess all around the sides, and I'm going to speed up the footage again because it's very tedious for this particular image. Beginning of the clip, you could see a small circle on the desk that fell off of my design, and then you can see later there's a couple spots that are missing from my design. I had to go back into the scrap pile to like pull them back out and stick them to the adhesive backing. The adhesive backing is actually pretty durable and pretty sticky, so if you do have a small part that falls off, you can stick it back on there very easily and it'll transfer onto your final project. To prepare my surface, I layered butcher paper on top of my Cricut Easy Press mat, layered my blanket. I ironed out any wrinkles that were on my blanket. Then I took my masking tape, transfer tape, to get any lint off. Layered my image, another layer of butcher paper, and then I used my Easy Press on top of that. Now the blanket that I was using was 100% polyester, so the temperature setting was 385 degrees for 40 seconds. Each project that you do with the infusible ink might vary slightly depending on the material and depending on the project. So it's important to look up the temperature and the time. You don't want to burn any of your projects. The infusible ink is actually a warm peel, so I'm just fanning off the project until it's warm to the touch, but not too hot where I burn myself. You can see that the transfer sheet is white, which shows that the ink transferred onto the project successfully. The ink is dry and to the touch immediately, so you don't need to worry about any extra dry time. If you enjoyed this tutorial on the Cricut Infusible Ink, please subscribe to my channel for more upcoming videos.